Hello, and welcome to this short introduction to the Pixel Student Tracking Spreadsheet. Let's get straight in and see what it is and what it does and how you might use it. So let's look at some of the rows and columns. First of all, we would have the candidate's registration number in this column, their name. We don't have actual names here, so we call them after their subjects. These are general arts students. There are also science students, business, visual arts, home economic and technical electives. And you see in this first row that we have the core subjects: English, maths, integrated science, social studies, and then their electives, whether they're general arts right through down to technical elective. So what does the spreadsheet do? Well, in this spreadsheet, we've cut and pasted the Form 2 results for each student into this section of the spreadsheet here. So for every student, we have their core subject results and their electives. And the spreadsheet is able to look at these grades and calculate the best 6, always, of course, including English and maths, and sometimes science, sometimes social studies, and then the best 3 of their electives, coming with this total aggregate point score. We'll come back to that later. But what's at the bottom of each column? So if we scroll down, we see the marks from Form 2, from those other subjects, those other elective subjects. And right at the bottom, we see the grades for each subject. We know that there are 210 pupils in the school, total there. And for English, one of them got A1, 23 B2, 26 B3, and so on. And so the app is able to add up all of these grades and give the total of the A1s, B2s, B3s, right down to the total of all students in all grades. So, of course, there are 210 students, and each student takes 8 subjects. So 210 times 8 comes to 1,680 grades. The app is then able to calculate the percentage of that number that got B3 plus, C6 plus, E8 or above, and the percentage who failed. Now, this example school is a high achieving school, so you can see very few fails, but their ambitions are to get more higher grades in the future. So let's look, for example, at English. The head of English will look at the grades at the end of Form 2 and say, what grades would I like these students to get in their final exams at the end of Form 3? The app has calculated their pass rates, and so the head of English will be able to see 24% of them are down for B3 plus. But isn't it interesting that in maths it's 34%, in social sciences it's 70%. How can I get this score higher by the end of Form 3? And the head of English might say, I'd like to increase the percentage of B3 plus to 35% one year, maybe even more next year. Which students do we need to focus on, therefore? The head of English may look, C4, 81 of them down there. Wouldn't it be good if some of those could go up to B3? So the head of English will rank them all using the spreadsheet. And there's the A grades, the B grades, and so on. And from all the C4 students, the head of English will choose some of them to say, these are the ones best able to get maybe a B3. Let's imagine, for the sake of argument, it's these. Highlight them in amber. They're the ones we want to change to B3 to improve our English results in the future. Let's look at the maths results as well. 34%. Head of maths might say, I'd like to get nearer social science. I'd like that to go up to 35%. Let's get some of my C4s and decide which ones of them we can get into the B3 category. And say, for the sake of argument, They choose those, highlight them amber so we know which ones we're looking for. English and maths, of course, are absolutely critical subjects because their grades always count towards your aggregate score. Let's put them back in order of their candidate number. It could have been sorted by alphabetical order of their name, but you can see at a glance which students are trying to get a slightly higher grade from C4 to B3 in English or in maths. And of course, the other subject areas might want to do the same. So let's look, for example, at this subject here, which is one of the science electives. They might decide, I'd like to get more of these C4s into B3. Click, sort, find the C4s and say, these are my target science students. I'd like them to get B3s. And then they'll have a better chance of getting to the university of their choice. So you see, the subject leaders can do that for each subject. And the subject leaders and the people who guide them will have this data, the pass rates, and the goals for the next year. And this spreadsheet helps them identify which students do we need to focus on if we're going to achieve our goals. But of course, it's not just the subject results that are important to the pupils. It is their aggregate score. The lower their score, the broader the number of options they can have at the end of the year. So let's have a look at the aggregate score. There are 34 students who have an aggregate of 6 to 12, very high performing students at the end of Form 2. The school has said, I'd like that to be 40 by the end of Senior High School 3. So who are these students? Who are the ones we need to target? Well, let's get them in rank order. So we're sorting there. These are the highest performing students at the end of Form 2. 2 of them got aggregate of 8, incredible score, and 34 of them got 12 or less. But we see that there are few of them who got 15 or less, 14 or 15. So we'll highlight these in amber, and these are the ones that we need to get to that total of 40. We see that in these students already, if they go up from C4 to B3, let's just do the example on one of them. If we change that to B3, you'll see that the score has gone down a point. If we change that B3 to a B2, that one's gone down a point too. So the spreadsheet automatically recalculates. I'll just undo those two changes so it doesn't mess the sheet up. So now we can see how you can use the spreadsheet to identify which students going up which grade or two will help them get into a higher band of average aggregate point score. We know that will be useful to them because it will give them more choice over which universities they may get into. But of course, one of the main indicators that schools are judged by is the percentage of students who get C6 or above. This is a high percentage in this school because it's a high achieving school. So one of their goals is to say, how many more grades at B3 or above can we get? 40% SHS Form 2 results, schools decided I'd like 45% of them to get B3 or higher grades, 45% of all grades to be in that category in the future. So 40% of grades, the 1,680 grades is 680. 45% of them is 756. So if the school wants to achieve this goal, it needs to get 76 more grades moved from C4 to B3. So when the subjects have actually looked and said, here's some of the C4s we'd like to move up, they've already chosen some of them for you. But if it doesn't come to 76, you could go back to the heads of departments and say, we'd like a few more students to go from C4 to B3. These are the ones, and please do all that you can to enable them to do that. So the spreadsheet is able to indicate which students need to focus on for which grades if the school wishes to achieve its grades. Let's put that back in order. And this same spreadsheet, the one we've used here with Form 2 results leading to Form 3 target setting, we keep our goals, but we could take out all of the Form 2 exam results and paste in their mock results. Or we could take out the results and paste in teachers' predicted grades. But that's for a different video, and we'll come back to that another time. I do hope that this has introduced you to some of the power of spreadsheets to track pupils' progress, and thank you very much for listening.